Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Big Three, the podcast where we unpack the biggest stories and insights shaping influencer marketing and the creator economy. I'm your host, Ceci. Today's episode is a guest conversation, and joining us today is Scott Sutton, CEO of Later. Scott works closely with brands as they figure out how to build and scale creator programs, so he's a great person to help us unpack today's topic: how B2B brands can capitalize on creator marketing. Scott, nice having you. How's your week kicking off so far?
It's great. It's a beautiful Monday morning, ready to go.
Yeah. Well, same here. It's a beautiful autumn morning here in Argentina. And yeah, I'm very excited for today's conversation. And as I mentioned in the in the intersection, we'll discuss why B2B companies should care about creator marketing, how SaaS and B2B brands can identify the right creator partners, and how teams can actually measure ROI when working with creators. But before we go there, Scott, and I know we discussed this in a previous conversation we had a couple of weeks ago, I would like to know what's your current view, like what are your views on the creator economy right now from your vantage point as CEO? What's been catching your attention the most in the creator economy so far this year?
The creator economy is on fire. It's so dynamic. There's amazing creators that are finding a ton of success. You see creators in all kinds of, traditional movie roles and traditional advertising now. They're across social networks. They're at the forefront of culture. And it's just really exciting. And then as far as the industry, it's really interesting. There's a lot of consolidation and there's a sorting out of a lot of historical brands. But then there's new emergent parties who are trying to take advantage of new aspects. And I think marketers really understand the value that is out there with the creator economy. And so marketers are
Yeah,
leaning in. So it's a fun time to be a part of the space for sure.
absolutely. Scott, let me ask you this. Do you think that 2026 already feels different compared to last year? And if so, why?
I think it's just an acceleration of what's been happening, but I would say that the momentum feels unique and the quality of the conversations just, yeah, just the creators are just at the middle of everything. And it feels like we're in this new era of creator as mainstream. And
Yeah.
it's really fun to watch. It doesn't feel like creators are fighting for space. It feels like they've just taken up that space. And now everyone knows they kind of have to work with creators. Creators are the new celebrities, and I think 2026 is really solidifying that.
Yeah. I actually that was one of my follow-up questions. All the shifts or the momentum that you said you're seeing in the industry. How do you think it's showing up in the way that brands and creators are working together?
Yeah, I mean, I just see more brands than ever really shifting dollars to work with creators, and it's interesting because even their linear TV budgets, their CTV budgets, their display ads are leveraging creators more and more, and so there's this shift of ad dollars that's happening to social and shift of ad dollars from, let's say, non-creator to creator within traditional channels, and so there's more long-term partnerships, there's more earning potential for creators, and it's really exciting to watch that transition happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Scott, let's start to sort of unpack today's conversation, which is again why B2B brands are entering creator marketing. I think that historically creator marketing has always been dominated by, consumer brands, retail, beauty, lifestyle, entertainment. Why do you think B2B companies sort of stay on the sideline for so long? What made this channel harder to, for them to adopt?
Yeah, I think it's been interesting, and I love seeing the emergence of more B2B advertising with creators. I think B2C always kind of is exploring new tactics first, and because of that direct tie with the consumer, um, they have to go to where the consumers are, and the consumers are on social. The consumers are engaging with creators and are heavily influenced. I think that B2B can often work in slightly different ways where there's community groups for different roles and personas. And I think one of the most interesting trends is that we're seeing B2B decision makers and largely millennials. It's like the first generation with huge spending power that's kind of grew up with social in their, let's call it, college plus era. And so there's starting to be this generational now shift where, buyers and decision makers are on social. And so they're having to jump in. But I think also there are new B2B creators. There's accountant creators, there's AI creators, there's marketing creators and agency
Yeah.
creators. And there's all these different, it's not just kind of the Mr. Beast of the world. There are creators for everyone now. And I think B2B is realizing that. I would say the other aspect is around attribution. B2B has had a hard time with attribution.
Yeah.
And there's really amazing things. We work with a very large client in the creative software space. What's cool now is we can hire a creator, have them make a post, share a link. Someone can click that link. We can then track the install of their app. And then with the interconnectivity to their subscription billing software, we can actually see what subscription and then their LTV tie it all the way back to the CAC. That's like the first time that's been able to happen in this like B2B kind of SaaS app paradigm. And so the tooling hasn't been there, but it's really there now to drive ROI. And B2B needs they're very
Okay.
ROI driven, and I think that's finally there for them.
Okay. So let me ask you this, Scott, which is, I think, it's a question that will tie everything that we've been discussing up to now perfectly. After the shifts and the changes in the creator economy that we discussed, after the attribution that you just mentioned, do you think there's anything in particular that has changed recently that made creator economy, the creator marketing, especially relevant for SaaS and B2B companies? If you had to
Um,
point to a few things.
yeah, I think, couple points I made with the expansion of creator into kind of B2B niches, this greater ability to measure ROI. And then I just think that there's also this natural motion of B2C proves it out and B2B jumps in once it's been a proven channel. I think B2B is less experimental often in the way that
Yeah.
they go about. And I think great B2B marketers realize they also have to do brand advertising, and that's a struggle often for a lot of B2B companies because they want to see ROI and attribution for all of their spend and almost view it as like a pseudo sales channel that spending money on brand and awareness is often tougher for B2B. And I think now that we can prove a lot of the ROI or have full funnel type campaigns where you can drive awareness and sales at the same time, it allows B2B marketers to jump in more. And so we're seeing a lot of people jump in. I think it's also this actor, we shifted away from the actors as celebrities and now it's creators as celebrities. How many Super Bowl commercials had creators as talent in their spot? And I think even then, just even B2B companies doing their traditional playbook are now leveraging creator talent instead of other celebrity talent. So it's really interesting to watch that happen as well.
Absolutely. Well, let's discuss what it actually looks like, what B2B creator marketing looks like. What type of creators or B2B or SaaS companies actually partnering?
There's a lot of different creators, and I think it depends on the type of software. I mean, you see Mr. Beast partnering with Salesforce and really unique combinations.
Yeah.
Broke Monk has a standing relationship with Adobe. And I think what's really interesting is there's a lot of B2B providers. And as creators become more fully fledged businesses, they can speak more to needing to run a business on a B2B type software platform.
100%.
And so it's interesting because these creators are both entrepreneurs as well as personalities. And so when you look to the creator lens, they're not just creators, they're also entrepreneurs and business people. I think there's also this amazing way that comedy allows us to connect. I think
Okay.
about Ross Bro or Natalie, who have kind of satirical takes on B2B life, but they also promote these companies because they've captured the attention and the imagination of the employees. And when they then highlight certain products, if Core Bro is going to suggest a product, you probably know he believes in it because he roasts most
Yeah.
every other. And I think getting to see those types of partnerships and relationships, they help build trust and authenticity with those brands. They
100%.
also show that the brand doesn't take itself so seriously that it can't be made fun of a little bit. And I think in B2B where it's very stodgy, often can't have a lot of fun, um, using humor, using levity is a great way to connect with an audience.
Scott, tell us a bit about how does a typical campaign, creator marketing campaign within B2B or SaaS actually, how does it come together?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of different ways that that happens. What we try to do and what I'm seeing more and more of is going away from these one-off campaigns and instead creating a annual program to engage
Yeah.
creators. And so what a creator motion looks like for most mature folks is you have an always on motion with kind of ambassadors and standing long-term relationships where they're constantly promoting the brand. This can also include an affiliate program where you're driving sales acceleration. Then you would look at staggering out the entire year. What kind of messaging do you have throughout the year? What types of creators can create that always on messaging for a brand? And then what are the big tentpole moments? Is there seasonality if you're a retailer? Are there key events that you sponsor? Are there major product launches? Rivian, for instance, is launching their new R2 vehicle. They had a huge activation at South
Mm.
by. They activate largely at Coachella and other places. So they would want to leverage experiential alongside social posting to kind of hit those tent poles, but then they need their always on content creation.
Yeah.
And then there are UGC programs where you're looking out to creators who are organically creating content about your brand and engaging with them, licensing that content to be used. So it's not just a point strategy where it's, okay, we have this one campaign brief. We're going to find 5 people. We're really looking at how do we maximize revenue for a brand across an entire year or multiple years with
Yeah.
creators in every aspect of their market.
What do you think are the main differences with a regular like B2C campaign or creator marketing partnership?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on the go-to-market strategy and the business
Okay.
structure of your company. And so what's interesting is what I coach our team on and how we think is how do I truly understand the go-to-market motion of the client that we're working with? Because if you're in traditional automotive, they don't actually own the end sales dealership. So it's very hard for them sometimes to affect certain parts of their kind of value chain
Yeah.
and their funnel. Whereas if I'm, D2C commerce, I can see and control. And then there's retail only partners. Maybe you only sell through Walmart or you only sell through Amazon. And so what we aim to do is look at, and then B2B, often there's direct sales. There may be partner motions or channel plays. There may be a product led growth freemium model. And so with that, we would be looking at, okay, is your goal to drive upper funnel awareness to drive a PLG freemium offer? Or are you more of an enterprise play where we need to drive awareness and have more
Yeah.
experiential in-person events? So I think it really the difference is in the business model and the go-to-market strategy and not just applying this one size fits all. I feel like influencer marketing, 5 to 10 years ago was let's just get in a celebrity creator, a big mega, make a lot of noise,
And that was
hype,
it.
vibe. And now it's a way more nuanced strategy where we're trying to really tune. It's like QSR is an interesting space. You need broad awareness of the QSR chain, but then I need to do individual store openings and drive
Yeah.
foot traffic to an opening in Fresno, California. That's very different than maybe trying to sell paper towels on the internet to the whole world.
Yeah.
Um, so it just depends.
Scott, and those brands that you see starting to experiment with creator marketing for the first time, what are the key mistakes that you see them make?
Yeah, I think it's not
Not
one.
having that strategy.
Yeah, I think it's not not having a strategy is a big one, but I think it's not it'd be under-resourcing the program and not taking it seriously enough.
Yeah.
And so what we encourage people to is to really make this a big strategic part of your business. We have tons of precedent. And then I think it's trying to go off of feeling and hypes and vibes. And someone in my marketing department thought this creator was fun and so we're going to work with them. I think you need a more data driven approach. You need tools to understand the cost benefit trade off. You need to have scale in your creator program. So if I pay one creator and the post doesn't work, all of my budget's gone and I don't have results. Meanwhile, if I work in a more data driven approach with 10 creators, the likelihood that I'm going to have kind of a normal distribution of outcomes with the content performance is much higher when I work with more creators. And so, we always recommend that you work with a partner who knows and understands the space, who has the data, who has relationships with creators. Look at who's already selling and performing and start with those creators and engage them in a more professional way.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about measurement. I know that we slightly touched on that before, but tell us what should they actually be measuring to understand whether a program is working?
Yeah, so I think there's a whole variety of metrics. When we look at it, our gold standard is simply ROAS. And I
Okay.
think that pride ourselves on actually being able to measure dollars into actual sales. If we're looking at more upper funnel campaigns, we can measure CPE, CPM, a variety of engagement stats. And then we work to also do brand lift studies to understand, what did this make your brand awareness greater across the segments that you're trying to reach. But ultimately for me, the proof is in the revenue. And so we try to build the strongest tie between marketing dollars and revenue.
Okay. Let me ask you the following. Let me see how I can phrase the question correctly. When creator marketing works well in a B2B context, what role is it actually playing inside the broader marketing strategy? Is it awareness? Is it trust building, lead generation, or something else?
I think,
It depends.
yeah, no, I mean it can be all of the above. I think what we'd like to see is that it's helping, awareness is for sure. We driving awareness with creators is a very normal thing. I think for conversion and then final sale, if you're selling multi-million dollar deals via an enterprise sales motion, that's going to be a harder kind of bottom of funnel. But you can track first and last touch attribution of where they came in. And there are a lot of companies that are driving very big deals off of kind of influencer marketing content and using it as a kind of full funnel activation mechanism. So I think the best way that I see it is running awareness campaigns and kind of these full funnel where you are giving a link to come and and follow a call to action that then can be attributable in your marketing automation system and you can actually prove the sales out of it. And for marketers, a lot of B2B marketers, they're constantly trying to fight for their budget and justify their
Yeah.
results in existence. So having that ability to attribute via a link click, via that traceability is really big. So that's where I think the measurement around first touch attribution, last touch attribution is really, really helpful for marketers.
Yeah. Okay. For leaders sitting in a CMO or revenue seat, what needs to happen internally for creator marketing to be treated as a growth channel rather than an experimental tactic?
So I think, we talked about the momentum in 2026 and everything that's happening. One of the things I would say is that there are very few enterprise companies that don't think that they need to do any influencer marketing or creator marketing. I think everyone kind of knows that they have to do something.
Yeah.
I think it's the how and what to do in the sea of options, the multitude of different providers, all the different, from creator networks and affiliate platforms to UGC platforms to influencer agencies. There's so many options, software and building an in-house team. I think people are looking for clarity. And so I think really it's trying to either work with a partner or, find for yourself the best way to leverage creators for your business
Okay.
with measurement in mind. And so for me, it's um, if you're a CMO and you don't have that, I would be looking for someone on your team or competent partner who can unpack all the different solutions, all the different ways, and marry that with your go to market. And that's where
Some clarity, right?
yeah, I love working with a lot of these CMOs because they have spent a lot of time to get really, really sharp on creator marketing, and they now have more informed perspectives, or they come open-minded, and we're able to help educate and guide them in how to best. And I think the best partners are also willing to experiment, even though they know it's a channel they should be in. You still have to find what works and find who works and find comfort and build trust and comfort with your board and with your leadership team. And so I think great partners will find lower risk entry points for you to come in, prove out success. And ultimately, as a CMO, if you can find those early wins, the high ROI campaigns, you're going to get more and more runway to work with to go and build out bigger and larger scale programs.
Scott, you mentioned before those enterprise level brands that might still be hesitating about working with creator marketing. If you had to summarize it simply, what's the biggest opportunity that they're missing today if they don't adopt creator marketing?
I mean, I think it's growth potential and just cost efficiency. So that's the one magical thing about the creator economy is it's single-handedly the biggest driver of growth and it's the most cost efficient platform. If you think one of the very unique things about the creator economy is its ideation, production, distribution, talent all in one.
All
And that's really, really incredible. When before you'd have to come up with a creative brief, a really creative campaign idea, you'd have to hire a production studio, you have to hire talent, you have editing and shooting, and then post production, you have distribution. And all that costs money on top. Nowhere else can you have an entire post put out in a same day from a creator and start to see results. I mean, it's really remarkable. And so I just think it's that, we've worked with partners like TransUnion and other major retailers to go out and measure the efficacy of like dollar for dollar ROAS, dollar for dollar CPE, CPM. And the creator economy is the most effective in terms of the raw stats when you look at fully loaded costs. And so I just think, you know, if you're not in those channels, you're just gonna be operating in a less efficient way and maybe not realizing the full growth potential.
God, I think this is something that we chatted about in our previous conversation. We mentioned something about more B2B brands starting to explore creator marketing, and a big, a bigger question about infrastructure. And I guess what I'm trying to ask you is, do you think the creator economy is actually ready for that level of investment, of growth, or does the industry still need to mature before those budgets can actually scale?
I mean, I think we're there. There's been a very, a settling, let's say, of the big at scale players in the creator network side, in the influencer marketing kind of platform and agency side. And the major retailers also have created a lot of infrastructure around the creator economy.
Okay.
Social networks are doing amazing things in the creator economy to help support that measurement, instrumentation, the release of new APIs and measurement tools. I think we're ready and the tools are only going to continue to get better. And so
Yep.
there's been reporting as of last year, the creator economy was at 37 billion in ad spend, and by 2030 should be at 200. I think we're seeing that uptick. We're seeing people,
Huge.
you know, bringing money in, and I think rational marketers, as long as they're earning and growing their business, they will continue to bring more and more dollars because that is the absolute rational thing to do. And so I think it's an awesome time for the creator economy. I think people view it now as a safe play. It's just about executing and executing at scale. And we now have the right operators, the right companies, infrastructure to see that at the kind of scale required.
Yeah. Well, Scott, lastly, if you look ahead a few years, how big of a role do you think creators will actually play in B2B marketing?
I mean, I think it's going to do the same thing it's done in B2C where they are marketing. And it's interesting. I have this kind of thing I talk about where people view companies kind of as people. And people
Yeah.
or brands, when they market themselves, most B2B companies, they always talk about themselves. They don't really have a lot of fun often. They only talk
Mm.
about their money and they only talk about work. And I just think people want to hear from people who are fun and entertaining and relatable. And
100%.
and so I think there's so many things around kind of the stock market and the public markets and this need to impress investors that makes it hard often to be fun as a brand or unique as a brand or take risks. And so I think creators are often that voice in the window to bring a little more humanity, a little more connection, a little more levity and humor to B2B businesses. So I think it's going to be a huge part of the strategy. We're already seeing it. The companies who are leaning in are winning. And my hope is that it makes the brands more fun and more relatable. They can loosen up the touch and less suits and more fun is probably my hope. And there are great brands who are doing it, but there are very few who are able to do
Yeah.
that with their own brands. And so creators will always be that window.
And if there's an industry that allows for a bit more fun, is the creator economy, right?
100%. I think, and it's honest and it's real, good or bad. And I
Yeah,
think that as long as we have that, we will continue to have success in the creator economy.
absolutely. Well, Scott, this That was a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your perspective. Before I wrap up, is there anything else that you want to share with our audience?
No, just, keep leaning into the creator economy. If you have thoughts or insights, talk to people like Ceci or myself. This is an amazing space to be in. We're constantly learning new things, and I love the chance to connect with you and see where things are headed.
Likewise. Well, and to everyone listening, thanks again for tuning in into the Big Three. We'll be back again with some more conversations and insights from across the creator economy. Talk soon.